Today we're ditching paid tools like FeedHive and Buffer and building our own social media post automation software. We'll use Google Sheets to store all the data for our social media posts, and we'll use make.com to automate the process of posting. And because I don't really like having to go into Google Sheets to type in all the posts and set when they should be posted, we've also built a simple UI in Frontly to run everything for us. Now, before we dive in, let me show you what we'll be building. So we'll be building this interface where we have our posts. We can go in, edit them, add URLs, images to be posted, schedule them for a specific date. And those will all be saved in this database with the schedule dates, URLs, and so on and so forth. And then we'll have this make.com scenario that would go through all those posts each day and see if there are any posts that should be published. It will then go through Facebook, Twitter. For LinkedIn, we'll be using Buffer, update the status for the post, and we'll also do some error checking so we can get a notification and see whether everything worked fine or if there were some errors. So here's my database. What I did here is I've prepared the social media posts. I used ChatGPT to do that. And those are all posts I'll use to promote my add-in Minty Tools for Excel, which is an Excel add-in with various time-saving features. A little plug here. The whole idea is that I have the post content. I obviously have Frontly ID because I want to build the UI on Frontly. If you're not using Frontly or if you don't want to use it, you can do everything here in Google Sheets and then use the make scenario to run, and everything will still be automatic. I just prefer to have a nice UI on top of that. After the post, I have this thing referenced feature, and this is from here. I have all my features. The only reason I have that is because I'm using my UI to upload the images, and then the URL is stored here. So that's the only disadvantage you'll have if you don't use Frontly or any other no-code web builder. You'll have to upload your images somewhere and then place the URLs here. So this is just for reference for me. You can definitely skip that. Then what's really important is the schedule date. So I'll add a date here for each of the posts. And when this date comes, Make will pick this post and schedule it for posting. I usually post everything around 6 p.m. so I won't be dealing with time here, but you can also do it with specific times that you can pass through here. A URL that I might want to share, and then the image URL for the image that will be in the post. I don't want all posts to just have the same image that's being gathered from the URL. I want to add different images to all the posts, and then just at the end of the post have check it out and the URL. And here is the status, and I have it in a separate table, so it would be easier to link it in Frontly, have new, scheduled, posted, and that's it. Now let's go ahead and start building things out. So I'm gonna go to Frontly, to Pages in my admin app, and I'm gonna add a new page. Social media automation. That's good. Before that, I have to link my data source. It's really simple in Frontly. Just copy the URL, Google Sheets, paste it here, and I'm importing all those three. And then I need to add the data relations. So I'm gonna add two relations. One will be with my referenced feature. The Frontly ID, the ID of the feature, should match the social posts referenced feature. And I want the feature name to be the display name. And my second one is my status. Again, to my social posts, the status should match the Frontly ID in my post status table. And I'm going to display the status. Go up here, save changes. And I can go back to my page and start building it out. And once again, you can skip that and go directly to building the functionality in Make. But In my opinion, it's much better to have some form of UI, like it makes it much easier to add things and be sure that you're not breaking anything. I'm gonna add a simple table here. I'm gonna link it to my YouTube social post, complete setup, and you see that it messed a lot of the things up. So the URL is an image and things like that. So actually gonna delete that and do something. Yep, leave without saving. I'm gonna go back to my data sources, and for my social posts, I'm gonna click on it. I'm gonna set everything up in here. So the post content is text, the reference feature doesn't matter, it's linked, but I can always say that it's a select. Then the schedule date, that's really important. I wanna switch it to date. The URL will be just text. And the image URL is an image, that's good. And the status, because it's also going to be a drop down, also going to switch it to a drop down to select. Okay, save changes, go back to pages, open the social media automation page, and now I can add a table, complete the setup, and everything is as it's supposed to. So here, I don't want to show the referenced feature because it's a number. I want to show the referenced feature. So this is the actual text that's being pulled from the other table. I'm going to say here reference feature. Okay. For schedule date, I'm going to make sure that it's a date. URL is fine, image URL. And I'm also going to hide the status and rename this one to status. And that should be about it. I'm also going to extend this a bit, make it a bit longer. When I'm clicking on any of those, I'm going to use the default detail view. Just before that, I'm going to say that everything is a post. So I get new post here and things like that. Let's save. And here, edit detail view. We're going to start by making sure that this is a text area. And I'm going to make it the min height of like 200. And I'm going to show the advanced settings and make it 2 columns. So that I have a nice big area to edit. Then the schedule date will be right after that. And my status will be right after that. Then I have the reference feature, the URL, and the image URL. I also want to make sure that those are not all required. So for example, if I am editing something and I'm still not ready to set a date or add the URL or the image, I want to still be able to save it. So here I'll say edit field validation, remove the check on required. For the status, again, gonna remove the required. And don't worry that it shows nothing here because it's a related field, so those settings won't apply. Same for the referenced feature. I don't want it to be required. Same for the image URL, shouldn't be required. And the URL itself, again, shouldn't be required. Okay, save that, and we should have our page ready. So if I hit preview, and let's take a look at it. So we have our posts here. You can hover to see the entire post. We have the reference feature, and we can start editing them. So we can add today's date, a status can be new, the feature, and then for a URL, I'm going to say mintytools.com. And for an image, I'm using this reference to know which image I should pick. So I'll pick the audit formula image. So I'll add my image here that's used to portray the audit formula feature, and I can hit save. And you can see that this updated, and I can now see my schedule date, the URL, and the image. And I can go along and set everything else up or add new posts as I need them. Now let's figure out how to actually automate the posting itself. I'm gonna go to Make, and I'm gonna start by using Google Sheets, and I'm gonna search for rows. I say search rows. I'm gonna leave it at select from my drive, and I'm gonna use YouTube social media posts. My sheet name will be YouTube social post. It has headers, and now I want to filter. we'll have two filters. First, I want the schedule date, switch that to date time operators should be equal to the date that to today's date. So I'm gonna go here and use this format date function, and in here I'm just gonna add now, so today's date, and in here for the format I'm gonna say year dash month dash day, because this is the format that I'm saving everything in Frontly. If you come here, you see that the date is the year, the month, the day. Back here, we're also gonna add another rule. So we need two rules to be true in order for a post to be considered ready to post. So the first thing is that the date should be the same date. And the other one is that I want the status to be, here it is 1 because we left it at new, but I want it to be 2, scheduled. So I need to go over and make sure it's scheduled so that Make will gather it. Status equal to 2. Sending, gonna limit it to like 5 posts or something like that, although I never post more than once a day. Hit OK, and this is our initial place where everything would happen. So next we can start posting essentially. So I'm going to look for Facebook first, and I'm going to say Facebook pages, create a post. I'm going to say create a post with photos because I want to add this image. I already have my connection set up. You need to add one if you don't have it. I'm going to pick my page. Then for photos, I'm going to add one photo. I'm going to switch that to download photo from URL. Then my URL will be my image URL from my first node here. I won't have any caption. Then my message will be my post content. And then I'm going to go a new line and say, check it out here. And I'm going to add the URL. And that way I know that the URL is always at the end, and people can click it if they want to, but they'll be seeing this image instead of always seeing the same preview of the website. I'm also gonna show advanced settings, and for the date, I'm gonna schedule it for the same date that's coming from here, but for a specific hour. So for example, because right now it's 9 p.m., so for testing, let's say I want to schedule them for 10 p.m. I'm going to go to date and time here, and I'm going to say add hours. And then in add hours, I'm going to pick the date, so the scheduled date. And because there's no hours in this date, the hour would be 0. So I'm just going to add 22 hours. So it's 10 p.m. And I'm going to hit OK. Next, I'm going to add X and say create a post. Gonna link my Twitter account, and for my text content I'm gonna add the post content, and then I'm gonna say check it out and add the URL. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to add an image to a Twitter post. I couldn't figure it out because there's no upload media option in Make, and that's what their API calls for. So let me know in the comments if you know how to do it, but for now, just gonna leave it like that without an image on Twitter, and hit OK. And last but not least, we need to post on LinkedIn. And if you know from previous videos that I've done, I don't really like the way LinkedIn works. So instead of using its integration, I'm actually using Buffer. And Buffer is a social media posting platform, but using it that way, I don't have to schedule multiple posts there. So I can always use their free version, which only allows up to 10 posts. And by doing our own automation, that's all we need from them. So I'm going to pick Buffer. I'm going to say create a status update. I already have my Buffer connection. I'm going to pick my LinkedIn page. And for my text, it's going to be post content. And then on a new line, check it out here, the URL. I'm going to say post an update at scheduled date and time. That would make it easier for us to see, to test things, because we'll be able to schedule for a few hours later, as we're doing right now. And then we'll be able to test that and see if the post appears in Buffer before it goes live on LinkedIn. After you're done with your testing, you can always switch that back to post immediately. Date scheduled will be again, I'm going to go here to the date and time. I'm going to say at hours. And here, I'm going to pick my schedule date. And in here, I'm going to add 22 for 10 p.m. And you need to do that when you're testing and building this. This needs to be like 1, 2, 3 hours after the time you're testing, just to make sure that everything works. And then you can switch that to the time of day that you want to post. So for me, this will be 18 because I always post around 6 p.m. I'm going to show the advanced settings here. I'm going to say here that I don't want to shorten the links, and I also want to attach media. No link, no title, no description, just a link to an image will be my image URL, and the thumbnail will also be my image URL. And those are my settings for buffer. Once we're done with all the posting, what we can do is we can go to Google Sheets and pick the update row to make sure that we switch the status to posted, because make sure that it's posted, it's not scheduled anymore. Here, I'm gonna select by path from my drive, and I'm gonna use this to find my worksheet. Then my sheet name will be social posts, and my row number will be the row number from this node here, row number. And the only thing that I want to change is my status. I want it to become 3 for posted. Hit OK. And that's the main part of it. But I also want to make sure that I get notified whether this worked or not. So I'm going to add a flow control, a router, and we'll have 2 paths. One will be an email that we'll get if there's no error, so if everything went fine. And the other is an email we'll get if there were some errors. And we'll also add error handling for those, just to make sure that we can see here which one caused the error. So I'm going to right click, add error handler, I'm going to say resume, and my post ID, and I'm going to say it's 0. Okay. Then for X, I'm going to add error handler, resume, and post ID will be 0. And for buffer, I'm going to add an error handler, resume, and I'm going to add an item, and status ID will be 0. Okay. I really don't like how they auto format those. So now what we can do is we can add 2 email nodes here, and then check within the router, add 2 filters. So this will be no errors, everything is fine, and this will be if there's errors. Let's start with the no errors one. So here I want to send an email. So I'm going to pick email. I'm going to grab send an email. I already have my email address here for Minty Analyst, and I'm going to say add the recipient. I'm going to add my email here, the one I want to get it at, and I'm going to add it in a bit. My subject will be Minty Tools, promo post, all good. Content type, HTML is fine, and content can be all good. I'm going to add my email here and hit OK. Now, in terms of adding a filter here, I'm going to say no errors, and we'll have 3 conditions. So the first thing we want is our Facebook post ID. We want this to not equal to 0. We also want an end rule. We want our Twitter or X post ID to be not equal to 0. And we want our statuses status ID to be not equal to 0. So if all those 3 are not equal to 0, so there is no error, then we'll get an email saying, okay, fine, all good, no errors. On the other hand, we'll also get an email, say send an email, a recipient, my subject will be Minty Tools, promo, errors, content type HTML, and in terms of content, I'm going to say there was an error posting on the following platforms. I'm going to add 2 new line tags because this is in HTML. And then I'm going to say go to this general functions tab and say if. And in this if, I'm going to say if my Facebook post ID, and then from general, I'm going to say equals 0. Then I want to say Facebook and a new line. Otherwise, I'll say nothing. on the next line, again, I'm going to say if, and in here, I'm going to grab my post ID from X. And after that, I'm going to say equals 0. I'm going to say X and then a new line, otherwise nothing. So the idea is that whichever one of those is 0 will be listed here. And that way I'll know which one threw the error. And here I'll again have if. Here we're going to say buffer statuses status ID equals 0. Give me LinkedIn. I don't need the new line here. Otherwise, give me nothing. Gonna hit OK here. And now let's set this filter. Gonna right click, set up a filter. Gonna say errors. And my conditions for that will be one of 3 things. So one of those 3 has to be 0. So either this is equal to 0. I'm gonna add an OR rule, or this equal to 0 and another OR rule, which will be statuses status ID is equal to 0. So the whole idea here is that if just a single one of those equals 0, then I have an error and I want this to go that way. And this is not errors, it's errors. Okay. And another thing that I want to do, so the last thing is here, I want to make sure that I only continue if there are posts to process. I'm gonna right click, set up a filter. I'm gonna see anything to post. And my condition will be that the total number of bundles will be a numeric operator greater than 0. So if it's 0, if there are no posts for today, this won't move forward. Okay, that was a long one. So now let's go ahead and test it. I'm gonna save it. And by the way, because in my case it will be running at 6 p.m. So I want to make sure that this is scheduled to run like a bit earlier than that. And also keep in mind that Twitter does not have like a scheduling. So for Facebook and for Buffer, you can provide a future time. So you can schedule at 5 p.m. and it will be posted at 6 p.m. But for Twitter, you don't have that. So what I do is I'll remove those dates from here and make sure that I'm posting directly at the time that this runs. If I now go back here and I edit this and make sure that it's scheduled and just save it, now I should be able to run this once. It found one thing to post. It's now creating a post for 10 p.m. in my case and Facebook. Let's see if that would work. Okay, then it went to Twitter, to Buffer, it updated everything, and there were no errors, so it went that way, and I should receive an email. If I go to my admin here and I refresh that, I should have my status as posted. And if I go to Twitter, you see here that I have this post. I'm gonna remove it because I posted it already. If I go to business.facebook.com content calendar, I can see that I have this post scheduled for 10 p.m. with the image and everything. It even says published by Make. I'm gonna delete that because I already posted this. And I wouldn't see anything on LinkedIn, but on Buffer, you can see here that I have this post scheduled with the image and everything for LinkedIn. I'm also gonna delete this one. So our scenario works. It takes new posts if it's the same date, and it goes through all those and posts them for you. I prefer to keep those separated, but if you want, you can even go in Buffer, and I was trying this out. You can add the Facebook and the X one as well. The reason I kept them separately was one thing for X is that you still have like a limit on how long your post can be. So what I'll do here is I'm actually going to go to the text and binary functions and use the substring function. So in here, I'm going to move this post content and I'm going to trim it essentially. To remove this empty space, I'm going to say from character 0 to character, let's say 180. The whole concept here is that I have my URL, I have this text here, and I want to make sure that the post doesn't get too long for Twitter. And usually I'm fine with it is being cut off at some point. If you want to make it fancier, you can add an if here that checks the length, and if it's above 180, it trims it and then adds 3 dots, but I'm not gonna do that. So from now on, you can just come in here, you can set up all those, or you can add new posts and be able to post them automated at specific times without you having to each time go in and post to all the platforms. And that's another great example of the power of no code, and especially when you're trying to build something that's tailored to your exact use case. Now, a lot of people are trying to build products and customer-facing businesses on top of no-code, but for me, the no-code advantage has always been in scenarios like this that we just went through. Building internal tools that exactly match your need and cost much less than what's available out there. I know platforms like FeedHive and Buffer, those are my 2 favorite ones, actually have a lot of features that we didn't build and we probably couldn't build in this tech stack. But at the same time, I personally never used those features. So for me, it made a lot of sense to just take the simple things that I use from those platforms and build them for myself, saving from recurring monthly fees and also being able to fully tailor everything exactly as I want it. Next, I want to share a few other ways that you can use Make to automate routine daily tasks and literally add hours to your day. And I'll be doing that in this video right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in this video.